Hello there. So today we are going to talk about macroeconomics. Okay, so first off, let's talk about what is macroeconomics. So if you remember in my first video on what is economics, I spoke about how macroeconomics is a branch of economics and it looks at the economy as a whole. Okay, so I juxtaposed it with microeconomics. Okay, so macroeconomics looks at how consumers, firms, and the government affect macroeconomic measures. Okay, such as inflation, unemployment, GDP, and also influence business cycles. Okay, so let's talk about what macroeconomists are interested in. Now, they are interested in, so these are some of the key goals macroeconomists are interested in: stable prices, reducing unemployment, and sustainable growth. Okay, and they have tools they use to try to achieve these outcomes. Okay, and some of the key tools are fiscal policy and monetary policy. Okay, so with fiscal policy, the government controls economic outcome through tax policy or government spending, and with monetary policies, the government controls economic outcomes through controlling money supply and interest rates. Okay. Okay, so I mentioned some of the key concepts in macroeconomics: GDP, inflation, and unemployment rates, and business cycles, and economic growth. So let's talk about GDP. Okay, so the GDP is just the value of total goods and services produced in an economy. Okay, so this is usually calculated in a specific period. Or I like to think about GDP as the total income of everyone in an economy. Okay, now the formula of GDP is given as okay, so here you have the GDP or total income represented as Y is equal to what consumers spend, represented by C. I represents investment, G represents government spending, and then NX is net exports. Okay, so it's your exports minus your imports. Okay, so that's basically what GDP is. And this is very important because it tells us about the overall well-being of an economy. Okay, so for instance, okay, let me use this analogy here to help you understand why GDP is useful. Okay, so if you want to know how well someone is doing, right, you usually look at their income. Okay, so if you had, say, let's say this is Amy, and then this is Josh. Okay, so if Amy has $10 and then Josh has $100, we can say that Josh has a higher standard of living than Amy, because with $100 he has a higher purchasing power, right? Okay, so GDP, which is a measure of the total income of an economy, can tell us how well an economy is doing. Okay, so you can have, let's say, country A, and then country B. Okay, so country A has, say, $1,000. Country B has 10,000. So GDP here can tell us that, oh well, country B is doing better than country A. Okay, so that's why it is useful. In as much as this concept is useful, well, some may argue that the fact that a country has a higher income does not necessarily translate to a higher standard of living, right? Okay, so that is where the concept of GDP per capita comes in. Okay. And I think it is useful for you to know that there are actually two ways of understanding GDP. Okay, so you have the nominal GDP and the real GDP. Okay, so the difference is in the way they are calculated. So the real is using base year prices. I will talk about that in a separate video. Okay, but then this is just to give you an idea of what GDP is all about. Okay, another useful concept in macroeconomics is unemployment rate. So unemployment rate is simply the ratio of the number of people who are unemployed to the labor force times 100%. Okay, so it refers to the percentage of those who would like to work and do not have jobs. Okay, so this formula is very useful because you need to be part of the labor force to be considered unemployed. Okay, so for instance, if you are below the age of 16, right, you do not qualify to be in the labor force. If you are above, say, 65, you do not qualify to be in the labor force. So you can't be unemployed. And also, you need to be willing and searching for a job. Okay, so you should have been searching for a job and have not gotten the job to be considered unemployed. Okay, so this is another important definition you need to know in macroeconomics. Another key concept I think is worth mentioning is inflation. And inflation is simply the general increase in price level in an economy over time. Okay, another important concept in macroeconomics is economic growth. Okay, and economic growth simply refers to the increase in goods and services per head of a population in an economy over time. Okay, another useful concept is business cycles. Okay, and business cycles refers to the fluctuating levels of economic activity over time. Okay, or the fluctuating levels of GDP over time. Okay, so if you have increased economic activity, this is what it looks like on the graph. Okay, and then you get to what you call a peak, right? And then when you have a recession, right, this is what it looks like, and this is what you call a trough. Okay. Another useful concept is balance of payment, which is just the record of economic transaction or activity with a country and the rest of the world. Okay, so these are the useful concepts you must know in economics. Now, like I mentioned earlier, economists are interested in sustainable growth, stable prices, and reducing unemployment, right? There are several theories as to how to make the economy as a whole work. Okay, so let's move on to that. Okay, so some of these theories include the classical theory, which advocates for free markets, okay, you have Keynesian economics. Okay, so Keynesian economics advocates for government intervention. I'll go into detail in a separate video. You have monetarism, which was popularized by Milton Friedman, which advocates for government's role in controlling money. Yes, and a whole host of other econ theories that I would go into in a separate video. Okay, so this is what macroeconomics is about. Okay, so your key takeaway from this video is that macroeconomics looks at the economy as a whole. Okay, and it does this with macroeconomic indicators such as the GDP and inflation and unemployment. Okay, and the main aim of macroeconomists or policymakers is to achieve sustainable growth, stable prices, and reduce unemployment. And they use fiscal and monetary policy to achieve this. Okay, and there are also several theories in macroeconomics, such as the classical theory, the Keynesian economics, and monetarism. Okay, and a whole host of other schools of thought, which I will discuss in a separate video. Okay, thank you.